Okay, so now we are continuing this example here. We are working with the reason, which is angles on a straight line. Now, how do we apply this reason? Because we've seen it in class, but if we are not really sure about what's going on, here is the video that actually explains what's happened. So let's say that we have two angles, and these two angles, like in the previous video, I said that this is angle X and this is angle Y. But the thing is that we don't know these variables. So let's say in the examination, they would normally do the following. They would actually say that we know this angle over here. Let's say they give you this angle of 120 degrees. They say that this angle is 120 degrees. And they say that you need to find the angle X over here. So how do we do that? Now the first thing that needs to come up to mind is that as you can see, this arrow, I'm including the entire arrow as well as where it actually starts all the way from 0 degrees and goes all the way to 180 degrees. This entire angle is 180 degrees. So what we are trying to say over here, or what we can actually see, is that both of those angles need to be equal to 180 degrees. So basically, if you add those two angles together, we get 180 degrees. Take note of what I just said right now. When you are applying this, we are basically going to do this. Like I said, if you add the two angles together, you'll get 180 degrees. So if we say X plus 120 degrees, we will get 180 degrees. Now take note, this is the part where we actually give the reason. We are going to say right next to it, or not right next to it, just at least leave a little space, leave a space between the equation and the reason. So we're going to say the reason is angles on a straight line. So that is our reason. Now we can actually solve for X right now. Take note how I actually wrote this equation to actually assist me on how to find my X value. So we put X on its own, and if you're still not sure how to solve for X, then you can refer back to my videos on how to solve for X. It will guide you. And now what we are going to do, we are going to minus both sides by 120 degrees so that we can basically get X on its own. So we're going to have it look like this. It's going to be 180 degrees minus 120 degrees. And now you can see that we got X on its own. So now we can just subtract these two numbers on the right hand side and we'll get an answer of 60 degrees. And that is our angle X. If we plug it into this previous, or this first example here, we say that X is equal to 60 degrees. So let's do this over here, right? We have 60 degrees. Now, to prove that this is a straight line and that these two angles are on the straight line, these two angles have to add up to 180 degrees. So if you say 120 degrees plus 60 degrees, you will get 180 degrees. And that is what makes our reason true. So this is just an application, and a very, very simple application on how to actually answer these questions. Let's do one more example, but we're going to make it a little bit more complicated. Okay, so this is a slightly more complicated example. Okay, disruptions. Anyway, okay, sorry about that. So a much more complicated example. It's not that bad, but let's just go through this together. We are given three angles. Well, you can only see two angles. And this is where I'm going to introduce you to the right angle, which is this little square shape over here. And this, whenever you see this square shape on an angle, this will mean that it is 90 degrees. And remember what the diagram looked like. That is not a degree symbol. Remember what the diagram looked like. Remember, the 90 degrees was chilling somewhere right here. That's basically what it looked like, but let's focus on that angle here. So therefore, we are going to say that this angle here is 90 degrees. So we know we are given three angles actually. And these three angles, when you add them up together, they have to give you 180 degrees. Okay, so let's actually do the example. If we do the following, remember, angles on a straight line, you have to add all of the angles together and it'll give you 180 degrees. So let's write that exact same thing down. So we have x is going to be not equal to, but x is going to add with the other angle, which is, let's say we are given also 90 degrees, and we're also going to add it with 50 degrees, because those are all the angles that lie on this straight line, and all of those angles, when you combine them together, will give you 180 degrees. Okay, and remember your reason. The reason is angles on a straight line. As you can see, I'm obviously cutting the video out or trimming the video out here, because obviously you're not going to watch me write down the whole angles on straight line thing. But let's just do this now. We need to solve for x, remember? So we need to get x on its own, and we can actually do this. We can solve for x. We can take all of the angles that we know to the other side, obviously, or we can subtract both sides by that angle over there. So we're going to take the 90 degrees over. Okay, we're going to take all of them over, so it's going to look like this. We're going to have 180 degrees minus 90 degrees minus 50 degrees. And now we can actually find out what our x value is. What is this angle equal to? 180 degrees minus 90 degrees over here is just going to be equal to 90 degrees. And 90 degrees minus 50 degrees is just going to be equal to 40 degrees. So that is our answer here. This is what x is equal to. And if we put it onto the diagram over here, so if we replace this x over here on the diagram with 40 degrees, like so, then we'll have the following. We'll have 90 degrees plus, okay, let's do this first. We'll have 40 degrees plus 50 degrees, which is 90 degrees, plus 90 degrees is equal to 180 degrees, and that's what makes this rule or reason correct. So this is basically angles on a straight line. There's nothing else to really go into detail for. These are just examples. It's not going to get too hectic after this. But the next video, I will be going over vertically opposite angles, and you can see how to actually interpret those types of questions.